I'm Ric Edelman, and this is The Truth About Money. On today's show,
get up in the morning and decide on what you're going to give as opposed to what you're going to get.
I'm wondering if anybody in who is employed today should depend on Social Security in the future.
there are more Americans who believe in UFOs than in Social Security.
Could I have a little bit back, please?
It depends. Is it my money or your money?
And we're just wondering, should we have taken a mortgage on the home, or were we better off just paying cash for it like we did?
But you said you wanted to put it somewhere other than stocks or somewhere other than just stocks?
Other than stocks. I
Right.
lost a lot of money on stock, and I'm very conservative now. I don't want to be bothered with them.
Okay.
That's all coming up right here, right now, on The Truth About Money.
Is it better to give or receive? Well, when it comes to taxes, are you expecting a big tax refund each year? Let's see what other folks had to tell us.
No, I'm going to pay a fortune.
Normally in the spring after the holidays, it's a good time to get some extra money.
It's still always nice to have that at the end of the year.
Maybe if I had less taken out at one time throughout the year, then maybe that would be even better.
Could I have a little bit back, please?
Every year we kind of use it as a little savings account, so it's a nice little spring bonus.
I think I'd rather have it throughout the year, so that way every month doesn't hurt quite as much.
I would like to get my money sooner, but I'm sure if I got it, I would spend it just as fast if I got it now.
Do you look forward to tax season? If you do, I'll bet I know the reason. You're expecting a refund. You're not alone. Lots of people do their taxes just as fast as they can every tax season, and then they wait with anticipation for their windfall, anywhere from several $100s to often several $1,000s. Sounds good, right? Well, it's not. When you get a refund from the IRS, you're not getting a gift from the government. The government is simply returning your own money to you. Yeah, when you get a refund, it means you overpaid the IRS all last year. You gave the government more money than you actually owed in taxes. In other words, you gave the government an interest-free loan. That's right, I said an interest-free loan. Would you lend Walmart $3,000 and then be excited when they gave it back to you with no interest the following April? Of course not. But that's exactly what happens when you overpay your taxes. The IRS returns only the amount you overpaid. You earn no interest, no matter how much money you loaned to the government. In 2010, the average tax refund was more than $3,000. Wouldn't you rather have use of that money all year long? The weird thing is that some people don't care that they're lending money to the government. They like the fact that they get big refunds, because getting that check feels good every April. And guess what they do with the cash? Do they invest it? No, they spend it, they splurge, and they remain just as broke as they were before they got the refund. You're smarter than that. You know you shouldn't give the IRS any more than it demands, so if you get a large refund each year, you can probably fix it. You may well be claiming too few exemptions on your W-4. That's the form you signed at work, telling your employer how much tax to withhold from your paycheck. Go to your boss, or ask your employer's Human Resources Department and ask them for a new W-4 form. Ask them for help in adjusting your withholding. Or check out the IRS website. It has a withholding calculator that can help you figure out the right number of exemptions. Or you can talk to a tax advisor. When you submit your new W-4, guess what? By reducing your withholding, you'll be giving yourself a raise. Your paycheck will now be larger. Now, here's the key. Don't spend that newfound money. Instead, deposit it into a savings or investment account. Don't wait for tax time to get a hold of your own money, and don't give the government an interest-free loan. My live seminars give me a chance to take questions from folks just like you. Check out this Q&A session that I did recently.
I'm wondering if anybody who is employed today should depend on Social Security in the future.
Nobody should ever be depending on Social Security. Unfortunately, a lot of folks do. Social Security comprises more than 50% of the annual income of most retirees today, which is very, very unfortunate, but it does verify the incredible importance of Social Security and why, if only for political purposes, Social Security will always be there. That said, it is reasonable to expect two things to happen with Social Security. One, you will have to be older before you qualify to receive it. And two, the amount you receive will be less than what they are currently paying. So keep that in mind. The maximum you'll get from Social Security right now, if you're married, is about $22,000, $24,000 a year. $2,000 a month. That is the very most or thereabouts that you can expect to receive. It's not going to get better than that. The numbers are going to come down because of the pressure that we know the Social Security system is under, and therefore we do not believe that you should be counting on Social Security as your sole resource in retirement. It is certainly something we take into consideration, but we believe that rather than abdicating your responsibility to secure your own financial future, you should be saving and investing on your own so that you're not dependent on Social Security, because Lord knows what the government is going to do to the benefits over time. By the way, in the most recent survey that I saw, there are more Americans who believe in UFOs than in Social Security.
When you have one of those mandatory distributions from 401k, what would you recommend to do with it?
It depends. Is it my money or your money?
I want to maximize the growth.
This is a real critical issue. You see, a lot of the folks who are withdrawing money from retirement accounts are doing so only because the IRS says you have to. So the first question is, do you need the money? So I'll put it to you. Do you need the money?
No.
Then what you simply want to do is roll the money out of the IRA or retirement plan and move it to a taxable account. Pay the taxes the IRS wants and then leave the rest of it fully invested. In fact, you can leave the money invested in the same exact investment it was already in. You simply pull it out of the tax-sheltered account so the IRS can grab its piece, and then you leave the rest invested. There's no reason to have to withdraw it and spend it. Some people actually think that the law says, I must spend the money. It's usually a lot of spouses trying to convince the retiree of that fact. So it's entirely up to you. If you don't need the money, not a problem. Just roll it over to a taxable account and leave it alone. If you do need the money, now we want to do an evaluation of your total financial picture to determine how much income do you need and how long are you going to need that income so that we can evaluate if the investment strategy you're currently using is properly designed to get us where you want to go. So the real question is, do you need the money? And that will color the decision making we take from there. Let me provide one additional add-on before we go to the next subject. If you don't need the money, you need to ask yourself, why not? There are an awful lot of people who have amassed a lot of money in IRAs, 401ks, retirement savings accounts, ordinary investment savings, and so on. They've done a great job. They've been diligent, they have been focused, and they have lived the American dream. They have been mature, responsible people, and they've done a great job at accumulating wealth. And after a lifetime of doing that, they get to retirement, and the time has come to start enjoying the money, and old habits are hard to break. And as a result, they resist withdrawing the money, partly out of habit, because they're so used to accumulating it, partly out of fear. They're afraid of losing the money that they've accumulated. They're afraid of running out of money, but largely because I find, in many cases, guilt. They just feel weird spending their money. And we know it's so much easier to spend it than to earn it. But my point is simply that you've worked an entire lifetime to build this wealth, and you deserve to enjoy it. If not on yourself, then on your children and, more importantly, grandchildren, and the community and charity. So rather than just being worth a lot of money, we find that some people are living lifestyles too frugally. Their money is tight. They're driving very old cars. They haven't enjoyed themselves to, quite frankly, the level that they can. And one of the biggest arguments we have with our clients is that they don't spend as much money as they're truly capable of spending. So think about it. When's the last time you made a withdrawal? Has a financial advisor told you that you're capable of withdrawing even more than you currently are? Think about that. Amassing money is just what Ebenezer Scrooge did, and until he put it to work, his life was unfulfilled. So decide how you're going to handle the stewardship of your wealth. Managing money is as important as accumulating it. Thanks. Okay, it's been exceptionally cold here in Washington, D.C. recently, and oddly enough, my producers suddenly decided that it was vitally important to find out the issues that were worrying people in Miami. Yeah, and they didn't even take me with them. So I've got to answer the questions that people were asking right here on the air. This young couple has been thinking about mortgages.
Hey, Rick, we just bought a home and we paid cash for it. I'm 27 and Julie's 25, and we're just wondering, should we have taken a mortgage on the home, or were we better off just paying cash for it like we did?
Oh my goodness, there are two big problems here, and I want to address both of them for you. The first big problem is the fact that they're asking my advice after they've already acted. It really doesn't matter what my opinion is because it's too late. It's sort of like saying, hey, I jumped into the water, should I have? Well, by now you're already cold and wet, so it really doesn't matter. Planning is about the future, not about examining the past. So before you make a financial decision, get the advice in advance. Now let's talk about the real key issue. Should they have a mortgage? And the answer is, without a question, yes, they should absolutely have a mortgage. Why? Because it reduces the amount of cash that they have to give to the seller, preserving the bulk of their cash in case they have an economic crisis, a job loss, or some other problem. Having that cash will make all the difference. There are lots of other reasons too, but my favorite for a mortgage is the liquidity that the mortgage allows you to maintain. In fact, there's no question about it, a mortgage is one of your smartest financial tools available. You should definitely take advantage of it. Now it's time to test your financial knowledge. It's our quiz of the day.
To succeed financially, your total monthly payments for all debts, including rent, mortgage, cars, credit cards, and other loans, should not exceed what portion of your income? 20%? 28%? 36%, 44%.
They tell me I have a face for radio. I can prove it too. Watch this. And let's head off to Baltimore. Natalie, welcome to the program. How are you?
Good. I'm 80 years old, and I have a large sum of money that I want to put somewhere other than stocks. What would you suggest?
Where's the money now, Natalie?
It's in a holding.
What does that mean?
Well, I have it holding
in a bank account? In a money market account?
Huh?
Money market account?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need any of the income from that money? Are you spending it at all?
Not necessarily, but I need to know that I can get to it because I'm 80 years old in case I need it.
Sure. So liquidity, like we were talking about earlier in the program, liquidity is very, very important.
Right.
And rightfully so. But you said you wanted to put it somewhere other than stocks or somewhere other than just stocks?
Other than stocks.
Right.
I lost a lot of money on stock, and I'm very conservative now. I don't want to be bothered with them.
Okay. I'll have two responses to that. First, you're right. I mean, if you're 80 years old and you've got $500,000 and you don't need the money and you just want to make sure the money is there available to you for the rest of your life, sure, why bother taking risk with the money?
Right.
But your best place then is exactly where it is.
Right.
In a money market account, FDIC insured bank account of some sort. That's your best option at these points.
I'm not getting anything on it.
Well, but you're not trying to get anything on it.
See, you have to choose, Natalie. You have to be very careful because you must choose between risk and return. If you want no risk, you have to be willing to accept no return. Because as soon as you want a higher return, you're going to have to take a higher risk. They go hand in hand. It's not a seesaw where you get to have a lot of one and none of the other. You can't have high risk and no return, and no risk, high return. You're going to get both are low or both are high, and you need to recognize that fact. So this is why I'll go to the second point. Okay? Although my first answer to you was keep doing what you're doing, no risk and a very low return. You might want to be willing to take a little bit of risk in order to get a little bit better return. In other words, we don't have to go all or none. We don't have to go totally crazy.
Right.
It's not 0 versus 100 miles an hour. Maybe we could do baby steps. And we accomplish this through diversification. It enables us to invest in a variety of places. You kind of talked about it like a barbell. It's either all in cash or all in stocks. Well, what if we do a little bit of cash and a little bit of stocks and a little bit of bonds and a little bit of international securities, a little bit of government securities, a little bit of real estate, a little bit of gold, a little bit of oil? If we do a little bit of a lot of things, we don't have to worry that any one thing is going to wipe us out. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah.
So what we would recommend is that you meet with a local financial advisor, and they'll be able to work all that through for you pretty easily and quickly.
Okay.
All right, Natalie.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for the call. I'm Ric Edelman.
To succeed financially, your total monthly payments for all debts should not exceed 36% of your income.
He's been called one of the 25 most influential people of the past 25 years, and he's one of the innovators who have made America. Not bad for a kid from Queens. Russell Simmons started out in hip-hop music and has now businesses ranging from fashion to television production. His new book is called Super Rich, A Guide to Having It All, and I'm very excited, Russell, to have you here with us on The Truth About Money. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
You are one of the founders of the hip-hop movement, and you are associated with all of the big performers in that field. Def Jam Records is certainly well-known, and for lots of good reasons. But you don't strike me as the kind of dynamic personality we're normally associated with seeing with these guys on stage. So how is it that you found so much enjoyment yourself in developing that form of music?
I mean, I'm much older now. I grew up with hip-hop. I produced my brother, Run DMC. I signed Jay-Z. They're my peers, lots of them, and some a little younger. But I spent a lot of time loving hip-hop and producing it, the music, and the rest. So I've changed over the years some, and I come from the same places that they come from. In other words, the hip-hop poets were voices for a lot of voiceless people. I was one of those people.
Was it your intention when you were starting out in the record business to become so successful and to become fabulously wealthy? Was that the primary motivation that you had at the time?
Well, this book is written to remind people that what it is that makes us happy and what it is that actually makes us successful. When I was producing music, the melody was more important than anything else. There was a second motivation. If you were sincere, your second motivation may be, wait till my friends are inspired by this work I'm doing. And the money thing, it's a fringe kind of benefit. And certainly when you're doing the work, that distraction would take you away from any good job if you thought, I'm doing this work and I'm going to make money.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because although the book is called Super Rich, and I think folks would ordinarily come upon that title looking at you as an extremely successful entrepreneur and assume this is a get-rich-quick kind of a tome. And it is absolutely not at all like that. Instead, it really addresses something that we have found in my experience as an entrepreneur like you, that it's really not about the money. Anyone who builds a business with their primary goal is to make money, they never make money. It just doesn't work. There has to be a fundamental love for what it is you're doing and a more important fundamental element, and that's really what you're trying to teach here in this book, isn't it?
So I wrote the book. It was a fun experience. It was bringing the teachings that everybody who knows me also knows that I'm a practitioner of yoga, daily practitioner for many years, now about 20 years, and studying the scripture for all of these years. I wanted to see if I could pull together the science of yoga, which sometimes I refer to as the science of happiness, and give it to people in a way that would be inspiring to them or useful to them.
So in other words, if I could phrase it probably inaccurately, but for the sake of a soundbite, super rich is not about material wealth. It's not about financial wealth. It's about something very different.
Absolutely. Super rich is a state of consciousness. I mean, I couldn't call my book by any of the other names that we would use for this state of consciousness. This idea of needing nothing is also called a state of yoga, by some. Yoga has many definitions as well, or Christ consciousness, needing nothing. That's bliss. Nirvana.
So the message really fundamentally is that it's not about what's in it for you. It's not about how much can I get. It's all about how much can I give, how much can I be for others, how can I find inner peace for myself without a focus on materialism, without a focus of what I need to buy, getting away from the shopping malls.
Not if you want to do a good job. If you want to do a good job, but I don't want to leave out this critical element. It's impossible to take this route and not attract wealth. To do a good job of service, everybody wants you. You're so attractive. So a good giver is a great getter.
Would you say that people's motivations of materialism and trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to impress others, is that part of what you're trying to get people to move away from to some degree?
Well, what you buy with your whatever comes to you is, I don't discuss it much. I don't have a lot of junk. More junk, more problems, carries a lot of weight. It's nice to clean out your closet. But
hold up your hands for me, Russell. You're not wearing rings, you're not wearing a watch. I'm wearing more jewelry than you are.
No, I have these beads. Amma, the hugging saint, gave me these beads. Amma Chi? She gave me these.
So it's not about what you've got, it's about who you are.
I think it's about happiness. We're here for just a quick second, and we should be happy while we're here. And I think money does not make you happy.
So talk about it in practical terms. You mentioned that your
happy
book
makes you money.
That your book
enough. Happy makes you money, though.
And so put it into the how-to. You say the book Super Rich is a how-to book. So give me a couple of steps that you have in the book of how to get yourself where you can be happy. Therefore, happiness will bring you money.
Well, steps. Well, your step would be, there's a short chapter on meditation, letting your thoughts settle. The noise on the outside moves you around in too many directions. And the seconds of presence is where you have creativity. The seconds of presence is where you can really execute on any opportunity. The seconds of presence are the only moments where you can really be a good giver.
Define presence. You're talking about presence CE, not presence as in gifts.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. The idea that you'd be focused, and then the rest of the noise is gone, but you're focused. Like when you're reading a book and you find yourself not breathing. This is the kind of engagement you want with your work. And when you're making a great record, the melody is playing, you have that engagement. When you're a basketball player, there's a moment where the rim is so big you can't miss the shot. Can you extend those seconds? So this is practices to extend those seconds. Not only that something draws you, but you can just turn on it and be focused on it and give to it your attention.
One of the things we love to do on the show, Russell, is have our guests leave one or two fundamental action steps that our viewers can take away. So what would you say, above all else, if there's only one or two pieces of advice that you could give to folks, what would you say they are?
One, get up in the morning and decide on what you're going to give as opposed to what you're going to get. Two, practice. In yogis, we smile in yoga physical practice. We smile and breathe in every pose. Go to work, a bright, happy, giving attitude. And those are two good steps.
I think they're two great places to start. Russell Simmons, thanks so much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go, you're comparing mortgage loans. One loan requires you to pay thousands of dollars in closing costs, the other doesn't. Which is the better deal? The answer might not be obvious. It depends on the total costs of the loan, not just the closing costs. Loans that waive closing costs often force you to pay a higher interest rate. So when evaluating loans, you need to determine which program offers you the lowest cost over the life of the loan, not merely the lowest cost for obtaining it. And that's the truth about money. I'm Ric Edelman. Thanks for watching.